Calling from Orlando is my next guest. Calling from Orlando is my next guest, which is Don Morse from Autism Anglers. Don has been the Don has been the Don has been in the outdoor industry since 1994. When he found out his son Landon had autism, Don knew nothing about it. His friends and family were very receptive when Don told them. He knew fishing was excellent therapy for people with all abilities. So in 2018, Don started his nonprofit Autism Anglers to bring awareness and acceptance on a larger level. And ever since 2018, several supporters have stepped up and have given extra tackle to anglers with autism all over North America. Autism English also plans on expanding the program to include fishing trips with guides and charters. Fishing trips with guides and charters. Let's welcome Mr. Morse to Autism Rocks and Rolls. Don, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good today. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. So my first question to you is, what does running a nonprofit organization that involves the autism spectrum mean to you?
So it means the world to me and my family. I started, like you said, back in 2018, and it was just a way to bring awareness to autism to anglers. I knew anglers, so I wanted them to learn what it was all about. And like you said, it morphed into more. We started giving away free tackle, free fishing trips. We've done several events around. We want to do more in-person events, starting here in the Orlando area, where we can actually get autistic anglers on the water. With somebody to help them out, if they need the help. But mostly just get that therapy. That's a huge thing for us.
Right, and you're in Orlando. It's actually a great benefit because I just know a lot of conferences and a lot of events happen in Orlando, Florida.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. ICAST is a huge one. I mean, that's the biggest industry trade show there is, and it comes to Orlando every year. But yeah, and the fishing is great. I mean, we can fish, 365 days a year here. So
Yeah, you lucky sons of guns. That's all I'm going to say. So, what were your initial thoughts when you decided to start a nonprofit organization involving the autism spectrum?
yeah, so the biggest thing, I wanted people to take it seriously, because that's what we were. I was learning about it as I guess you could say, as a new autism parent. Learning about what's going on, different ways that to help my son cope, different ways to parent him, really. And I wanted it to be legit, so I wanted everybody to take it seriously. So I went through everything, got the lawyers, got all the paperwork done, did all that stuff, just so we could get out there and say, hey, we are a real company, or we are a real organization. This is what, when you benefit, when you give to us, this is what it's doing. And that was the biggest thing right there, is just to make sure that we were out there doing it the right way from the get go.
Do you remember when people actually started seeing, oh, this is the real deal?
Yeah, actually, it was right away. I had, like I said, I've been in the fishing industry for a long time, so I had a lot of connections in different with different companies, with different people, from anywhere from professional anglers all the way down to somebody that pours their own rubber worms. So immediately they started taking it seriously. They saw what I was doing, they saw the passion behind it, and I haven't had anybody look at us and say, you don't know what you're talking about, or why are you doing this? Everybody understands completely, because really, I mean, you look at how many people are on the spectrum. It affects everybody. They either have a loved one on the spectrum, or they know somebody. So everybody's taking it, really taking everything we're doing to heart.
When it comes to 2025, you cannot be wrong there. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
So, based on your experience and having a son with autism, how do you think a person with autism brains operate?
That's a tough one there. Everybody's different. And then that's the thing, and that's why it's a spectrum, because once the old saying, once you met one person with autism, you only met one person with autism. And we've seen that from some of the events we've done. But as far as our brain thing, honestly, we've seen people that fishing doesn't help at all. It's therapy for a lot. It doesn't help everybody on the spectrum, and we understand that. And if for some reason, if we're working with a young guy or a young gal that for some reason fishing isn't quite their thing, we help them find out what is their thing, and help them find some other way to do what they're interested in. So, but yeah, that's that's a loaded question because everybody's so different.
Right, you're not wrong there, but when I did my research on you, you said that in every interview, when you met one person with autism, you met one person with autism. From your experience and having a son, why do you believe that's so important to hone in on? I agree with you, but why do you believe everyone needs to
Uh,
know that?
yeah, for sure. So, finding that thing that helps you out, that can, I guess, rewire your brain maybe for just a short period of time. I've seen, I've seen, I've seen anglers that have, stems that never stop, or verbal stems, or movement stems, different stems. And once they focus on one thing, focus on that float out in the water, focus on the fish pulling on the hook. That right there, just it seems to rewire your brain, even for a short moment. You can see that those other worries or other things that are going on in life just disappear, even if it's just for a minute. And that's really important to find out what helps you.
Brian, I agree with you there, my friend. So, what is the most rewarding and the most difficult thing about running a nonprofit organization that involves the autism spectrum?
I say it with everybody. The most important thing and the most rewarding thing for me is the smiles. When we get letters, we get pictures back from somebody that had opened up a box of tackle, just a box of tackle that somebody had donated, and we were able to gift out, with love to somebody, and we get videos and we get pictures back, with a fish on something that we sent to them. The smiles, it's worth everything that we do.
Right. I can definitely see that because you said before there are some people out there in this world with autism who want to fish, but they're either intimidated by the hooks or it's just not affordable.
Absolutely, yeah. It can be pricey for sure. So, and that's why we try to take a little bit out of there. We don't send a lot, but we do send a little bit of everything. So we send some hooks and some worms, different things that you need, as well as suggestions on ways to make it safer. You know, pinching the barbs on the hooks if they have barbs on them. If you can't swim, make sure you have a safety vest on. We tell caretakers, if you're taking a young one out that needs help, focus on them. Don't try to fish yourself. Completely focus on them. And the biggest thing is action. Take anybody. I don't care if it's just a young neurotypical or somebody that's on the spectrum. Take them where there's action. You need that constant action. Lots of fish, even if they're little tiny fish, at least you're catching something. So, we give out a lot of pointers as well. So,
Something's better than nothing, as they say.
absolutely.
It really is. You said it's also the hardest part of fishing when it comes to those with autism. Can you tell us why?
Different things. Again, everybody's a little bit different. So it could be something physical. My son had a big problem with turning the reel handle, so we had to figure out a different way to do it. I invented a tether that goes around the wrist and around the fishing rod, because I'd seen where some of the young men I was working with, they would cast it and they would just let go of the whole fishing rod. So again, it comes about everybody's a little bit different, and just figuring out what they need help with. I've even had talked to a young man at ICAST a couple years ago, who's on the spectrum. He's 24 years old and he's a professional fisherman, so he has no problem with the gear or anything like that. So he's kind of figured out how to hone in on things and make it work for him.
Right, right. I definitely see where you're coming on with that. So, what advice would you give to others who are considering running a nonprofit organization involving autism?
Do your research. That's one thing I did, was definitely do your research and get help from somebody that's already running a nonprofit. I was working with a vets group here in Florida, and the president from that group really helped me out. A lot of pointers on how to get things started, who to talk to, what paperwork to fill out, the proper way to do things, your board. It's a lot of work. So yeah, definitely do a lot of research and find a mentor, find somebody that's running a nonprofit organization and work with them.
You were talking about vets. I know you worked with veterans who had PTSD. Did you learn any life lessons from those veterans who had PTSD? If so, what were
Absolutely.
some of the lessons you learned?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And patience was the biggest thing that I learned with them. So yeah, working with the vets with PTSD, one of the things we were doing is that we would teach them how to build a fishing rod. So day 1 and 2, we teach them how to build a fishing rod, and then on day 3, we take them fishing. And again, PTSD, I could see a lot of things with that rewiring the brain when they're on the water. And that's kind of where I saw it going, for the autism therapy as well. But the biggest thing, and it's the same whether you're working with vets with PTSD or somebody on the spectrum, patience. That's the biggest thing. Patience and focus on helping them.
Would you say your patience level has improved since having Landon?
Absolutely. I'm a complete different person than I was 13 years ago. He turns 13 next week. And I tell him every day that he saved my life. He completely changed me. I'm a complete different person now. Um, Patience is the biggest thing that he has taught me.
Is that why he's your biggest hero?
He is my hero. That's absolutely 100% true. I wish I could be more like him. Patience is what he's taught me. And, I look at him and he just has no cares in the world. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care what people think. He's just himself. And that's one thing that anybody on the spectrum could definitely benefit learning is just be yourself. Don't worry about what other people think.
I wish I could have learned that sooner. I learned that at 16, but I
Yeah.
wish I could have learned that at Landon's age. That's one
Yep.
of the regrets I have. I don't have many regrets, but that's what I'm probably gonna have to carry to the tombstone with.
There you go.
But let's talk more about autism anglers. So after your friends said, "Oh, dude, you should start this nonprofit program called Autism Anglers," can you tell me the step by step what you had to do to start Autism Anglers?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing was coming up with funding. It's not cheap to get all the paperwork and fill everything out. I suggest always working with a lawyer, making sure everything is done correctly. The first step was raising that money. I wanted it to be self sufficient. I didn't want to have to invest our personal money into it, which we have. We make donations ourselves. But the biggest thing was getting that started. So what I did, being a custom rod builder. I actually made 12 matching fishing rods, and they were numbered 1 through 12. And my friends and some of their friends bought them and helped pay for our startup costs and getting that going. So that was step one. You're raising the money, and then getting the paperwork filled out with the federal government, with the state government, making sure everything was in line, getting a board together, and having the board meetings. And I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's definitely not an easy task, but it's one that we love because again, we get those smiles back.
Yeah, if you're doing a nonprofit from personal experience, you're in it for the work.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
not in it for the money. If you think you're going to make $1 million, you might as well scratch the door on that.
Yeah, yeah. We, my wife and I are the main two that do everything, and we don't get a penny back. It's pretty self sufficient. There's sometimes we're struggling, and we can't send out as many boxes as we'd like to because there's not enough funds. And there's other times where it's plentiful. So it's in waves. It comes and goes. But our supporters are great. We have a huge following on social media. Website that we keep up ourselves, web store, and all the goodies in there. We take care of all of it.
Right. And I'll put the website on the show notes, but it's autismanglers.com, if I remember
Dot org.
correctly.
Dot org.
Oh, .org. Okay.
Yep.
So if you guys got to check this out, make sure to visit autismanglers.org. But there's something else on your website I'm interested in. It's called Awesome Anglers. So can you tell me about Awesome Anglers and what it does?
Yeah. So the Awesome Anglers program is the way that we give back. That's our gifting of tackle to autistic anglers all over North America. So Canada and the U.S. It's absolutely no charge. We have a well, I guess a small warehouse or a storage unit that has a lot of tackle in it. We box it up and we send it out, and it's all done through either donations or we'll go and buy it if we need to. But we've got a lot of tackle, and yeah, just go into the Awesome Anglers page. You fill out a quick form. All we got to do is name, relationship, and just tell us a little bit about the angler, and we will send them a gift. And it's usually 2 to 3 pounds of tackle. So yeah, we send that all out, and it's all even the we've got a thing too in the web store where somebody can go on, they can sponsor a box. So that helps pay for the postage and the box and the packing materials, all that. So you can go on and buy and sponsor a box. We have people that'll sponsor two, three, four boxes, a week or a month, a year, and then that helps as well.
Right. And I'm guessing through this program, you've had a lot of life-changing experience. So I want you to tell me about a life-changing experience that happened through Autism Anglers.
So the biggest thing is, getting new friends out of it. Supporters. I have a lot of supporters that have become really close with me, and that's a huge thing. It has helped me, meet, you know, um, professional anglers. It's helped me talk to people in at large companies that want to help, want to know more. But that's the biggest thing is the relationships that I've gotten. But again, it all comes back to the smiles and the letters, the pictures. I've got drawings back, from kids on the spectrum that received a box of tackle, and they'll send us a drawing, and it's sweet. So it really helps the heart.
Right. And what about, has there been any, let me try again, has there been any life-changing experiences through the clients? Like, did someone finally say their first word, fish, because of the fishing?
I have not heard that yet, but I have had some great stories shared with me about some nonverbal. I had one of the dads. He told me, he says he never said a word, and then one day we were in a grocery store, and he started singing a Christmas song because it's what they were listening to at school. So, those kind of stories are incredible. But yeah, no, as far as life changing stories, I haven't got any back yet, but I'm sure it'll come.
Oh, I'm sure. Just give it a little time. But I want to talk to you more about your hero now, Landon. So, because of autism, we know he's going to have struggles, but he also is going to have talents. So, what does Landon struggle with because of the autism? And what would you say are some of Landon's talents due to his autism?
Yeah, so Landon struggles with, a lot of basic things, even getting dressed. I mean, he's going to be 13 soon, and he has a hard time getting his clothes on the correct way. He has some meltdowns. He's working on those. As he gets older, he's figuring out ways that he can then work through those. He has a lot of stims that helps him out. Um, his talent, the kid is amazing remembering things, dates, when things happened, lists. He can go through. You can write a list of 50 things down. You can ask him what, or 50, like 50 words. You can ask him what word 12 is. And he'll tell you what it is. I don't know if he's got a little bit of photographic, but he can remember long lists of things. And then one of his other things, his biggest passion is Disney. So he can tell you almost anything to do with Disney.
All right, here's my rule. You can talk about Disney, just don't let him sing Let It Go, or I'll kill him.
There you go.
But that's the only rule I have. Other than that, he can do whatever he wants with Disney. But I did learn this through an interview. His song list. Tell me about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So he was at a young age, he would make song lists on like Apple Music. So he would come up with a list, um, 12, 15 songs long, and then he would have them numbered, list A, B, C, D, E, F. And you could ask him, you're like, okay, what on playlist D, what is song number 6? And he can tell you what it was, with about 99% accuracy. And we sat at dinner one time with a friend of mine. And I asked him, I'm like, check this out. I'm like, just pick one of these and ask him, what song that is. And he just kept rattling it off, and it was absolutely amazing. It's been a while since he's done that, but yeah, again, it was one of those lists, and they were different songs that he liked, and they weren't even songs from, say, he would like pick a movie. He would have different songs from different movies in a playlist, so they didn't even match or weren't in order. But yeah, it was incredible, and it didn't matter how many lists it was, how many playlists, how long it was. He could tell you what song it was very, very accurately.
Well, I'll just tell you this much. I have a list of well, let me try to phrase it. Well, I have a Google Doc. I looked it up just a few seconds ago while you were. I was looking at a Google Doc that I pulled up a few seconds ago. It has a list of 39 pages of songs, and he probably could remember when I would have gotten that song if I was him. I wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, he can do things with some of his toys. He can tell you what day of the week he got it on. He'll be like, yeah, he did that the other day. We were asking him when our birthdays were last year. What day was my birthday on? He told me his mom's, his grandma's. He knew what day of the week everybody's birthday was last year. So
Wow. Sometimes I forget my own grandma's birthday, so he's already ahead of me on that one.
there you go.
And I'll tell you this too with clothes. I get that 100% because my problem is sometimes I forget my shirt's inside out.
Yeah.
So I've been told so my friends have had time before, hey, buddy, do you realize your shirt's inside out? No.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be a lifelong struggle, but it's all right.
Yeah. And I used to do that too when I was a boy. Mine was because the shirt would go over my head. I didn't like that. Like,
Yeah.
that was terrifying for me. I didn't like the dark as a kid. I don't like the dark still as much, but it's something I can manage. I sleep with the light off.
There you go.
So my question is, so speaking of, so as a parent, do you ever worry about Landon's future? Because I know he's
Absolutely.
having meltdowns and having a hard time getting clothes. Do you worry that someone's going to put on his shirt for the rest of his life and he's going to have a meltdown at Walmart? You won't be there to help him.
I do. I That's one of my biggest worries right now. As we're getting older, and he's getting older, it's a worry. I think he'll probably end up living with us. Going in the future. I don't see him moving away. What happens when we're gone is one of those biggest things that worries me now. But as far as him, going outside and having a shirt on backwards and inside out, it's who he is. That kind of thing doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother him. Like I said, he doesn't he doesn't care. It bothers me more than it bothers him. I'm just worried about what's going to happen to him when myself and my wife are not around anymore. So, but he's a good kid. I think he'll be okay.
Well, I mean, maybe if only with Florida they could let you go in the Walmart shirtless. Because I've seen that before in
Yeah,
Miami, apparently. From what I've heard from a friend, they do a lot of stuff with limited clothing. I'm not saying they're not covered. It's just it's more of a bait. It's more of a bathing suit
right, right.
than what you would see in Indiana, which is what I'm wearing: shoes, pants, and a shirt.
There you go.
So you were talking about earlier these vocal stems that Landon does. Why don't you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, so noises, songs, or he repeats a lot of words, and phrases from movies, different things like that, which sometimes are in public can be a little uncomfortable because people don't know what he's talking about. We've had it in the past where one of them was, "Can you help me find my dog?" And he would say that out in public, and people are looking like, what's going on, but things like that. But a lot of repeated phrases, he does that a lot. But he'll repeat movie lines, and then just noises in general. So
Well, I'm going to ask you this. Did you know these vocal stems have a term?
I I know the word. I forgot what I forget.
Echolalia.
Echolalia. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I wasn't for sure if you knew that or not, but yeah, that's what it reminds me of, echolalia.
Yep. Yep.
And I know for a fact that is something those on spectrum do. I do that a lot too. I remember one of my guests in C320, Define Yourself by Chris Mitchell. He would do that with the radio station. He'd be like, hit 103.3, and then he would repeat out of nowhere sometime when he would retire, hit
Yeah.
103.3.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things that, again, the more the older he gets, the more I'm around Landon, the less that kind of stuff bothers me. Just the other day he was just making noises and playing the drums on his knees, and kind of rocking a little bit, and people were looking, and I was like, "You got a problem? I mean, he's good. Let him go."
Well, have you had people though come up to you and maybe when Landon had a meltdown or when Landon was drumming, they asked what was the problem, and they didn't understand, even though you try to explain to him, this guy is on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, I haven't had it hasn't happened too much. We get looks, of course. When he was younger, people were thinking he was just throwing a fit. So that gave us a chance to explain a few things. I've only had one person make some negative comments, and I just looked at him like, he's autistic. What's your excuse? And that was the one time. But mostly, you can see some looks or whatever. But more than that, I get other parents, other spectrum parents that'll come up to me and go, "You're doing a great job." So it's one of those things that when the more you're around somebody with autism, the more you can recognize those kind of things, and it's kind of becomes like a parent club, I guess, where you see it and you congratulate them and say, "Hey, you're doing good." You're upset now because your son's having a meltdown. You did good, and that reassurance really helps out a lot.
And you it does a good job for you personally because it's showing the other parents you're on the right direction. You know what you're doing because there's some parents out there who just are lost.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those parents that are lost, I highly recommend finding a group, either a Facebook group or a group in your local area, where you can get with other parents, because we've all dealt with it. We've all had to go through, the dirty looks. We've all had to go through, hugging our loved one to keep them from hurting themselves or hurting somebody else. So we've all gone through it, and just find that support group.
Yeah, you'll actually be able to finally understand. Yeah, you'll be able to finally find someone who understands why there's a hole in your wall.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So you are an outdoorsman. You enjoyed it for the longest time alive. So what do you specifically like about the outdoors?
It's therapy for me too. Just like everybody, I love just getting out there. The nature. I love animals. So whether I'm hunting or fishing, watching the birds, watching the otters, watching squirrels and deer, turkeys. I absolutely love it. I'm an animal person. Doesn't matter if they fly, walk, or swim. I love all animals, and it's my happy place.
Right. And the noises are beautiful. I am on the autism spectrum and I have sensory issues and C123 sensitive feelings, more information. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I had to bear with cars honking. Drives me bananas. I'd rather hear my ear turkey go gobble gobble.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess that's partially because I was raised in the country. Do you think is that why you think you like the outdoors too? Because you were raised in the country?
I was raised in the country-ish, I guess. Never close to a big city. But I spent a lot of time on my aunt and uncle's farm. So yeah, I mean that's that kind of stuff. Like you said, the noises, the even just the quiet when there is no noise. It's peaceful.
Right. You can't go wrong with that. So you did some research when Lynn was diagnosed. So I'm going to ask you to think back to when you did do the research, and can you tell me some of the research you did after Lynn was diagnosed? Like, what did you find? What books did you find? What podcasts did you find? What were some of the stuff that actually helped you?
So I'm not a big reader, so I didn't do the book thing.
Hey,
But
me too, buddy. I'd rather do a podcast than read a book.
Yeah, I love podcasts. I didn't listen. I didn't find too many podcasts back then. There's more of them now. I'm finding, but the support groups. I found a lot of Facebook groups for parents with children on autism. UCF here, University of Central Florida, they have a program called Card and Pals, and they had parent classes, so we could go and do the parent classes with them. And they were always there to answer questions. They're very good. They service 40,000 families in the greater Orlando area. They're have a plethora of information there. But it was the support groups, it was going on and saying, okay, I'm not the only one that, lost my cool with my son for, peeing on the floor this today. It's normal. And it's one of those things you just get over, after a while, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to clean it up and keep going.
Right, and it could be worse. He could have done number two on the floor. Let's
Yeah,
just be
there you
honest.
go. There you go.
But
Yeah.
how ironic. Fun fact, I actually spoke at a card conference once, so I know about that in Orlando. Go figure.
Yeah.
But what's
Awesome.
but what's this pals? I'm interested in learning more about that.
It's their sister. It's their sister side of things. So card and pals kind of go together. Card is more of the resource side, where pals is their outreach side.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
The card's going to be more of like doing the research, helping with classes, different resources, things like that. And then pals puts on the events.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
They're the fun side.
they're the fun side.
So you also said fishing is excellent therapy for people with autism. What research did you find that made you go with fishing is good therapy?
So that kind of came from me working with vets with PTSD and seeing it that way. And then as I was learning about it, and like I said, been in the fishing industry for a long time, I started seeing some of these different people that either had kids, or I've met inventors of fishing tackle. They're on the spectrum in their 40s and 50s, and like, yeah, I'm different when I'm on the water. As I was looking around different things, or as I was beginning the Facebook group, I had parents reaching out to me and go, my son is completely different when he's on the water, and now that's all he talks about in school. It's fishing. So and it's one of those things. It's like completely different. I keep hearing completely different, completely different, completely different. And the more I heard that, the more I saw, okay, let's see this. Let's see what this is all about. And it's absolutely true. It's not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. Landon right now doesn't want anything to do with fishing. But someday he may see the benefit of it if it helps him. If not, we'll find his other thing. But just hearing over and over again, he's different. He's different when he's fishing. So that right there is what kind of told me I was going in the right direction.
Right, right. So you thought before in another, you said autism. So in a previous interview, you said autism is a misunderstood condition. So how can society, not people like us, because we know the struggles, we know tapping into their interests is actually the best idea. But how can other people around us can make autism more of an understood condition?
And that's, again, that comes down to what we're doing, is bringing just telling everybody, telling the masses. Now I picked anglers because anglers is a huge portion of everybody in the United States and Canada. More people fish than do not, it seems like, or have fished. So groups like Autism Anglers, or other organizations, groups, those kind of things help spread that, spread. Okay, if I see a kid that may be screaming in the grocery store, maybe he's not a little brat. Maybe he's having a meltdown. Or if you see, different things like that going on. But the biggest thing I think is, getting the awareness out there. Picking a group. Like I said, I picked anglers. I know anglers, and it's a huge portion of people, in the country. Tell them about it. Hey, if you see this, this might be what's going on. Be a little more understanding. And there's other groups like that. There's Surfers for Autism. There's a lot of different groups out there, and I think that helps out a lot. And just not being afraid to, being afraid to share information, even if you don't know anything about it. But you see a post that we put up, say, hey, this is what a meltdown looks like. If you share it, that helps. Every little bit helps.
Right, I would agree with you there. So as I said before, you do live in Orlando, so I gotta know, man, what's it like to live in Orlando? I know it's
It's
like to visit, but what's it like to live in there?
I love it. They call it endless summer here, and it really is. But it's not for everybody. It's crowded. It's busy. It's if you don't mind sitting in traffic, it's a great place to be. So, but there's so much to do, and that's the thing. We tried going away for a little bit, but we came right back. There's life here. There's always something happening. There's always something to do. There's always change. I'm from Michigan originally. I can go back to my hometown and nothing changed. Here, I'll drive down the road and where'd that neighborhood come from? So it's one of those things that's a constantly evolving area.
All right, so I have to ask this because I know Orlando is known for the theme parks,
Yes.
and your answer to this question is going to dictate where the next question goes. So, have you, Atlanta, ever visited one of the many theme parks Orlando has or not?
Oh yeah, Disney. We visit Disney often.
Okay, and I was curious, does it take a little more of a process to take someone with autism to a theme park from your perspective?
It did. Now we go enough that it doesn't anymore. Well, I can't see that, but I know in the first years of going, there's a possibility that we'd have to turn the car around and go back. He could get all excited, "Hey, we're going to Magic Kingdom today," and we drive a half an hour, and he's like, "I don't want to go." And we learned after a while, don't force it. Just turn the car around and go home. There's some days where he'll go for 11 hours and he wants to keep going. There's other days where you go and after the first or second ride, he's ready to go home. And that's the thing. We have to put, even though if we want to keep going, we have to say, all right, we're done, and we just leave.
That's my thing with theme parks is I'll go for a while and go ride the roller coasters, put my hands in the air, have some fun, but when I'm done, I'm done. Like
Yep.
I don't want to stay up past midnight riding a ride. Let me put
Yeah.
it that way.
And the other thing we found too is food options. And luckily, I can't speak for the other theme parks, but Disney has been really accommodating. We've gone to a restaurant where they didn't have land approved items on the menu, but they actually went next door to their sister restaurant and brought them some chicken strips and French fries.
So Landon has diet.
No, what he likes. I say land and approve is what he likes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So he lives on chicken strips and French fries.
Then you know what? That's not bad. If I could do that someday, good one to try too. I don't know if they'll be as approving as um Disney, but maybe try Cedar Point. If it's a roller coaster, but there's also
Yep.
other stuff to do. But I say it's a good one because there's a meal deal that got once upon a time when I went to Cedar Point. They would definitely have chicken there.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I know we went to a restaurant and they didn't have anything on the menu that he liked at all. We were there. It was kind of a family deal. We were with grandma and grandpa, and we were there, and we're all ordering our food, and he's like, "I don't want any of this," And luckily, right in the same resort, right just down there, there was another restaurant, and they had French fries, chicken strips. The waiter went down there, got him some, brought him back, plated them up for him, and brought him out. So
Wow, that's what you call a community right there.
absolutely.
Do you think Orlando is definitely accepting community for autism as a whole? I'm not just talking Disney World, the restaurants. I mean everywhere.
It seems to be, yeah. The theme park is, I know the theme parks, Disney and SeaWorld both, they have, sensory areas. They have people train sensory. But Orlando's a big melting pot. I mean, everybody here is from somewhere else. And it does seem that everybody is really accepting of any ability, any nationality. Really anything goes here in Orlando. So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I went to Orlando. It seems like to be a lot of the Middle Eastern population is in Orlando because out of anywhere in the world, that's who's going to accept them.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and it's like that. I mean, Hispanic populations, like you said, Middle Eastern. There's people coming up. I mean, a lot of Mexican populations. I got some really good friends, that were born and raised in Mexico and live here now. So yeah, I mean, it's a melting pot. I mean, there's nobody's from Orlando. Everybody's from somewhere else, it seems.
Wow. Well, I met one. I may have to disagree with you on that one because I've actually met someone from Orlando. So
There you go. There you go. There's not many of them.
ain't wrong there. So you also are into kayaking. So when did you get into kayaking?
Yeah, actually, Autism Angers got me into kayaking again. I met some of the supporters that were big kayak fishermen, and it just kayaking is like a family thing, or the groups feel like a family. So a lot of our supporters were kayak anglers, and a lot of our current supporters are kayak anglers, and they got me into it. So I never really got into the tournament stuff. A little bit, I tried it wasn't really my thing, but again. This comes back to that peaceful thing. You're not worrying about a big gas motor screaming behind you. You're just floating around on a lake, listening to the birds and catching fish.
Right. So if someone wishes to attempt kayaking for their very first time, what would be your top piece of suggestion?
Find a buddy. That's the biggest thing. You want to always go out with somebody. Don't try to go out on your own. You need to find somebody that is an experienced kayaker, and go with them. I don't suggest ever going on alone kayaking. I've done it. It's always better to have a buddy. I mean, you're in a plastic boat on the water, and especially down here, we've got gators, we got snakes, we got boats that go 80 miles an hour or 90 miles an hour that don't see you. So it's always better to go out, find somebody that's experienced, and go out with them. Kayakers love having a friend with them.
Well, here's the deal. Kayakers like having a friend with them. They may not like me. Because I'd be the guy acting stupid the whole entire time. Like, I'd be the one whacking you in the back of the head. You're like, wasn't me. Has that ever happened to you? Someone ever whacked you in the back of the head, told you, wasn't
And
me.
nope.
Maybe Landon will do that for me.
There you go. There you go.
So I know you took your fish. So I know at the age of 2, you took your very first fishing trip. So to the best of your ability, I say it because I know you slept since then. I want you to do your best to describe what your very first fishing trip was like.
Oh man, 2 years. Well, I can remember. I can remember probably around the 4 or 5 year old range. But we, growing up in Michigan, there was farm ponds everywhere, and I remember being out with mom and dad, and afraid to touch the worms, afraid to touch the fish, but somebody was there to put it on and take it off, and we just it is what it was. It was a worm and a bobber and in a farm pond catching bluegill and filling up buckets. So we did that every chance we got when I was little.
But you continued that too into 16 years old because that was your very first job. So can you tell me about the first job you got when you were just 16 years old?
Yeah, yeah. So I started working in a local hardware store. They just needed people to, somebody to sharpen lawnmower blades and fix screens. But there was a fishing and hunting section, and the owner kind of took me under his wing and you know taught me about hunting and fishing a little bit. I love fishing anyway, but taught me on how to sell it. Different kind of things with that. So since I was already an outdoorsman, I fit right in, and he let me work at the sporting goods counter as much as I possibly could. So it was really cool, seeing so many people come in, and you can make suggestions. So hey, I used this last week, and this is what I caught. And giving that suggestion, and as a 16-year-old kid in high school, if somebody comes back and say, "Hey, you were right about that one. I need some more of those." Really made you feel good.
Well, all right. All right. You got to do this for me then about teaching selling fish. Try to briefly summarize and try to teach our listeners how to sell fish.
how to sell fishing equipment or sell fish?
Sell fish.
Sell fish. Oh man. Uh, you know, it's just experience, as far as so I've sold fish, I've sold bait, that way, but it's an experience thing, if you're fishing, talk to somebody that's fishing, find out what they're using and go for it.
How do you make it interesting though? Because my brand, I also think it's a fish.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's the tug, it's that pull. It's the fight. That's the biggest thing, is feeling something fight back, and catching them and watching them swim away, and maybe you'll catch them again someday. So, I talked to one dad whose son named every fish he put back because he knew he would catch them again.
So in retrospect, what you're doing is fishing in the market.
Right. Yeah.
So I do know about one friend you were actually interviewed by, Jim Crowley. So what has
Yeah.
your friend Jim Crowley done for you personally and professionally?
Oh man, Jim's amazing. Jim has definitely helped us bring awareness to what we're doing. Through his interviews, and as he's talking to people, he puts our logo on his jerseys. Just he became a great friend, and I got him into rod building. So he's able to help us out with a little bit of promotion and just being there with a hug. And I taught him how to build rods, and I give him a hard time about how he does it every time I talk to him.
There you go. You gotta have something to keep the bond with, and that might be a great way to keep the bond, making fun of them a little bit.
That's right.
But I know someone else that you know, and this is blows my mind. It's a pro fisherman named Zach. So can you tell me about pro fisherman Zach and how did you hear about him?
Zach.
You told me he was a professional bass pro fisherman.
Which Zach?
According to you, and this is what I know, he's a pro fisherman at 13 or 14 years old.
Oh, no way. Yes, yeah. What an amazing young man. Yeah. Zach is so cool. I get to, oh my goodness. I haven't talked to him in ages, but yeah, what a great kid. Just full of life and just loves fishing.
I know I saw he was like a pro fisherman at 13 or 14 years old.
Oh man,
That
just
blew my mind.
incredible. Yeah. Local tournaments, you can get really good fishing local stuff. And that's what he did. He just got out there, fished all these local tournaments, started winning so young and just kept on going.
You gotta respect that. That's so cool. That's so
Absolutely.
cool. So you been talking about your family. So how has your family, and I'm talking about your wife, your mom, uncles, and aunts, have supported you and Landon?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my wife, I mean, she's the rock of our family for sure. She keeps me grounded a lot when I still have my struggles with things. So she's definitely the rock. And then I don't have much of a family, but her family, her dad, her mom, her stepmom, brothers, sisters, amazing. And they love on Landon, and they really, they look at what we do. They don't know how we do it, but they love that we do it, and they just love him, everything about him, and support what we're doing with the organization. So
I'm gonna ask you this. Why do you not have much of a family, according to you?
they, I don't. Yeah, I mean, my parents passed away. So I just, don't have much of a family at all. So,
Sorry for
um,
your loss, brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, here, but my wife's family, they, I'm like a son to them, so it's great. So I call them mom and dad, and so no, it's great that she has a big family.
That is good. What were your mom's family's reaction to Landon's diagnosis? Were they scared? Were they like, okay, you know what? He's on the spectrum. Let's do this.
Yeah, that was it, man. They knew that we had it. At first, there were some things like they didn't understand, like, well, why can't he do it? Or he can do it. Let him do it. And they're like, but after a while, they're like, okay, no, I get it. They see different things different ways that we do things, and they help out as much as possible.
Right. And that's all you can ask for with family is if they can help despite not understanding why.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. But we see that, and it took a while before we were, comfortable leaving him alone with somebody. But he's, his grandma and grandpa live right here in Orlando with us, and he'll go over there and spend a couple days with them, and we have no worries at all anymore because they get it. They're just like, all right, let him do his thing.
Right. Right. And hey, that's good that he has a space. Maybe sometimes talking to grandma or grandpa might be better to talk to them than the parents because let's be honest, parents can be annoying sometimes. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll wrap her up here, Don. And these are just for some fun questions. So, what is your paradise meal or favorite food, and why is it your favorite?
Oh man,
And I was gonna say, is it fish? But that might be
it's
kind of rhetorical.
yeah, right. No, it is actually salmon. Absolutely love salmon. It's just it doesn't matter how it's cooked. It doesn't matter if it's sushi or if it's grilled or fried or what it is. I absolutely love salmon. That's really about the only thing I miss from Michigan is the fresh salmon on the lake.
There you go. What is your favorite movie or TV show, and why do you like it?
um, I'm not much of a TV person, but I'd have to say my favorite movie of all time. Oh, you know what? Landon would tell you what it is. It is The Last Samurai. I love The Last Samurai. Always love that one. It's one of those things, there's a lot of meaning involved in it. Beautiful scenery, really cool story, and blood and guts. So,
There you go. Kick around blood and guts sometimes, can you?
yep.
So, what's been your favorite vacation you've ever taken? Why did you enjoy that vacation very much?
Oh man. Favorite vacation. You know, we haven't had too many like go away vacations, but I have to say, I guess my favorite vacation is every day I get to spend with Landon and Janine at a theme park or at a zoo. I guess we're in a permanent vacation down here in Florida. So if it's a weekend and we're having a staycation at a resort and going to Animal Kingdom, but just being with them, that's all I care about.
And that's a good answer. I would definitely say that. I mean, they've been there with, they've been there your whole entire life. You got to pay it back somehow.
That's right.
So my final question is: are there any good memories that I tell our listeners about? If you do, why do you remember that memory the most? So before you answer, I would like a specific sentimental memory that made you feel good inside. You forgot the world's a cruel place. Maybe with autism anglers, your family, and a funny memory that made you fall on the floor laughing. Could be with Landon, could be with autism anglers. Your call. You want to answer, bub?
Oh man. So one really meaningful memory is it happened this last September. Some folks that I met in the fishing industry invited me to come up to Michigan and do some salmon fishing, fly for with on a fly rod. Never done it before. And we had this beautiful place out in the country, right on the river. Just the views, the getting away, the sights and sounds, or the lack of sounds, the wildlife was just, it was absolutely incredible, and meeting them through fishing. And one of the gentlemen that I've become really good friends with, his son, his I believe 8 years old now, also on the spectrum. So we had a lot to talk about while we hung out and did all that. So that super meaningful that I was invited to take that trip with them and become part of their family as well. So super meaningful there this last September. Um, as far as like falling on the floor laughing, it's a daily occurrence with Landon. Yeah, he uh, he tells a great joke. I told the story today. When COVID first started, I was working from home, and I was a salesman at the time, and on a computer and on a phone all day. And Landon come out around the corner to my office, and he was wearing like a feather boa shawl. He had a Christmas hat on. He had some weird clothing on, and he looks at me and he screams in the other room. He goes, "He's not working. He's playing on the computer." So, and that was my job. But I took a picture of him in that outfit, and I posted it on Facebook at the time, and I said, the greatest thing about working from home is your weird coworkers. And I posted that picture up, and so that's one thing I'll never forget, was him saying that he's not working, he's playing on the computer.
Was someone on the other line? Like,
I I wasn't on the phone at the time. I was doing an email.
I was thought, oh God, if someone's on the other line, I might be laughing because, but I would be like, yeah, you're not wrong there, buddy. He literally is playing on the computer, just in an adult form.
But yeah, it was amazing. That's one thing I'll never forget.
All right. Well, Don, thank you so much for your time. Is there any closing remarks you want to make, my friend?
Man, just I appreciate you inviting me on. I everybody visit autismanglers.org, check out what we're doing, and look us up on social media. Autism. If you type in autism anglers in Google, you'll find us really quick.
I can speak from experience. I did the same. So that is 100% true. Don, thanks for starting this nonprofit organization. It means a lot to me. I appreciate what you're doing for autism, just like I'm trying to do as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.